Mike and Alyssa, welcome to the Biohacker Babes. We're so happy to have you on the show today.
So grateful to be here today with you.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much. We're super excited. It's been a long time coming, so we're excited.
Yes. Well, you two are very busy changing the world and traveling the world at the same time. So we're really grateful that you're going to spend an hour with our audience today. So we are talking about one of my favorite biohacking devices today. And our audience, if you've listened to the show before, you've probably heard me talk about this thing called the Align Mat recently, which I have been using almost every single day since I got mine in May 2024. And I've just been raving about it. So I was like, okay, we need Mike and Alyssa on the show, the founders, so you can talk about the science behind it and some of the really cool stuff that you're up to with that. So, PEMF, if anyone is new to this, we are going to get into the basics of that. But I think this is really cool because Lauren and I have actually been using PEMF for almost 30 years. I was doing the math on that. I was like, that's crazy because our dad, who we call the OG biohacker, introduced us to this as kids. And now we didn't know what the heck it was. We were just like, oh, my knee hurts or this, whatever, use this. Okay, dad, whatever. So we've been using it for a really long time. But when I discovered the Align mat, I was like, I need this in my house so I can use it every day. I don't want to drive to a center to use it. I want to have it. So we're going to get into all the magical things behind that. But to kick us off, I think you two have a really fascinating story of how you got into the space. So whoever wants to kick it off, maybe I'll throw it to you, Alyssa, if you want to share your background and how you discovered PEMF.
Yes. I'm a non-practicing aerospace engineer, and I had a health challenge in my early 20s that I left my career field and went on a decade-long journey to learn how to heal myself, essentially, because Western medicine didn't have answers for me. They told me everything looked normal on my labs, and yet I couldn't get out of bed. I was losing limb function. I was having chronic severe migraine headaches. I wasn't digesting food, just like you name it, a laundry list of things that no one had answers for me for. So fast forward, a decade later, I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I know you and I share that in common. That certification has definitely been a game changer in my own personal health, as well as me being able to walk with clients on their path back to wellness. And Mike and I got together 5 years ago, and that's a beautiful story for another time. I think a lot of you on here may have heard our story.
We
need a couple hours for that.
Part two and three.
But it's definitely been divinely guided. We're definitely on this path together. We're both practitioners. I'll let Mike share his story and then how that led us to PEMF.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, I was born with this gift of medical intuition. So anybody who doesn't know what medical intuitive or medical intuition is, it's that I'm super sensitive. I can feel into people's energies and I can feel the imbalances that they have. It's a blessing and a curse because I walked through a crowd when I was, 5 years old, and I would come out the other side all beat up energetically and physically sometimes. So fast forward, into my early 20s, I actually didn't realize that I had this gift or what it was called. I started with the law of attraction, actually. I got into law of attraction. I was a law of attraction trainer, and I started to be on something that was called a hangout show. And it was all about the law of attraction, how you can implement it in your life and everything. And I did about 50 episodes. And probably close to the last episode, this guy came on who was another medical intuitive that I didn't even know, was just like looking at me through the screen, and I could just feel his energy. It was so uncomfortable. He didn't say anything to me the entire show. Of course, there was like banter and everything, but it's just really awkward. But after the show, he called me and he's like, dude, the story that you just told is very similar to mine. I'm a medical intuitive. You have the juice. This is what you need to do. You need to get this book. You need to take this course. You need to start learning these things. So he's kind of like an inadvertent like mentor for me. So that's where I like realized that this gift, the thing that in my, you know, when my teens that I was having anxiety and depression from, is that I was taking on all this other energy from other people. So to be able to put, a word to it and be like, that's what you are, it was so amazing. But, I was able to get my certifications. I had my own client practice for a very long time, helping a lot of people. heal themselves. And it was definitely a pain to purpose, just like Alyssa's story. So
Yeah. Wow. I hadn't heard that part of the story before.
yeah,
That's
right.
wild.
That is such a
Everything
gift when
happens
you
for a
can
reason.
put words to it or actually understand your gifts. And
Wow.
we all come into this world with these gifts, and leaning into that is what our mission is, really, right?
Yeah.
So it's just so wild. So then how did you discover PEMF? Was that together, or
Yeah.
did you discover it separately and then come?
You know what's crazy is that we had been involved with technology prior to even meeting each other. Like Mike was even invited into a private room when Healy was brought into this country. So that was another energetic handheld device. So it's like
Oh, yeah.
we've had exposure and experience with a lot of these other technologies and things that we were using personally for ourselves and helping us on our own wellness journey before we even knew what biohacking was. And very soon after, when Mike and I got together, the pandemic was in full force. So we were looking for other things to take care of ourselves, and we were also now our practice shifted to being fully virtual. So instead of being in person with people, though Mike's can work proxy remotely with anyone anywhere in the world because quantum entanglement, but having tools that people can utilize in their own home to help them. I mean, PEMF was something that we studied and took apart, I would say, over a dozen mats in the market space for
Yeah.
2.5 years before we even launched a line.
But before then, like kind of back up a little bit, it was a download that came to me. I was like just sitting there in meditation. It was like, you need to create a product. And I was like, what is that? What is this product? It's like, don't worry about it. We'll guide you. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So
Amazing.
I love that. I love that.
God energy was, leading us in this direction. And, we did find PEMF and how powerful that was. But there was a lot of things on the market that, I couldn't feel. Being super sensitive, I couldn't feel, or I would be like, there's nothing really going on here. So I was like, I love cars. I'm a car guy. I want to make things faster. I want to make them better. I want to make them more efficient. So that's kind of like where this idea kind of stemmed from, is that, we wanted to take this technology and supercharge it.
I
So
love that. So
fast
before we
forward.
make the PEMF good, better, best, because you guys have an amazing mat, which we're going to talk about, explain to our audience just the basics of PEMF. If we as humans, through our evolution, now in our modern, toxic, stressful worlds, why do we need PEMF? What are the benefits here?
And what does it stand for?
What does it stand for?
There's a lot of benefits.
Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And why this is a therapy is that, we're talking about in this modern stressed out life. Well, we liken the alignment or any PEMF device to like a human charging pad. And why that's so important is that for tens of thousands of years throughout our evolution, we have walked barefoot on this earth's surface. So the earth has been our natural human charging pad. And we think it's so odd that we charge all of our devices, but yet we don't recharge our own cellular batteries. So literally every single cell in our body produces mitochondria. So if we remember middle school science, it's the little powerhouse of the cell. And what PEMF does, it helps us produce that unit of energy, ATP, in our cells more effectively. So it's a pulsed frequency. So we think about EMFs as being this DNA damaging frequency. Well, PEMF is a harmonizing frequency for our DNA in our body.
But Alyssa, I go to sleep at night. I sleep 8 hours. Why would I need extra energy? Isn't that my charging for the day?
Yeah. Well, when you're in deep rejuvenating sleep, that is when the body heals itself most effectively. PEMF itself is helpful to get people better quality and quantity of sleep. And oftentimes, because we're getting a certain 8 hours of sleep, it doesn't mean that it's quality sleep. So PEMF helps you get into that deep sleep where a body heals itself.
And there's also those cells too, when you're talking about mitochondria and ATP, is that sometimes they can have toxin buildup, right? And they don't work efficiently. And then you have senescent cells or the zombie cells, right? That are just floating around and they're not doing anything. So PEMF kind of like the pulse is really cool in PEMF because it kind of like shakes those cells. And when it gives you that electronic pulse or that magnetic pulse, it's actually getting rid of the toxins in the pathways so those cells can actually do what they need to do and create energy for you.
This is why it helps with metabolism as well. So it helps at a cellular level uptake nutrition and detoxify waste more effectively.
Right, because if the
It
cell
really
is
like,
toxic and stressed, there's nothing going in or out. We're just kind of stuck.
It's
The
gonna lock
pulsing's
it
gonna
down.
work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're in survival. Like if you haven't eaten and you know you're not going to eat for a while, you know your body saves that. And then it
Mhm.
starts taking other resources. So to
Yeah.
have more energy than we wouldn't, you know, otherwise have, our body has more energy to heal itself and go to the other functions in the body to do what it needs to do better.
right,
Mm.
right. So, I mean, I look at it as like an upgrade to everything else you're doing. Your
Mhm.
nutrition, your exercise, your sleep. It's just making everything more efficient so that you can run your human battery better.
Yeah.
So, and I definitely feel that. I feel so great when I get off the mat. But so my question is, what if someone is like, well, I can just go outside and ground. Do I
Yeah.
need this? Which I will tell you where I live, I can't. Like I go out front, it's just asphalt. I go in the back, it's rocks. Like there's nowhere for me to ground at my house.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, maybe my next house I will have something. But unless you're like living in the middle of the woods, walking barefoot all day, every day, you really do need this technology, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you answered your own question there. I mean, like for people that don't have places to go outside and ground, because in our private practice, we would tell everybody, you know, you can go outside
It's free.
and ground. It's free. The sun shines. You need full spectrum sunlight. You need to ground because the earth frequencies are going to help you with your energy, but no one would listen. So,
It seems too simple.
yeah,
I think people think
right,
it's how can that do anything?
Yeah.
But
exactly.
it does, yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
funny because it's like we work with a lot of clients that are in like Canada and we have a couple in Alaska and they're like, it's a frozen tundra right now. I'm not going outside barefoot. So it's like, you know, geographically, geographically, it doesn't work a lot of, you know, a lot of places in the world and many times of the year. And then again, even like in places that are just cities, the concrete jungle, I mean, we are completely disconnected from that Schumann resonance frequency that the earth provides naturally. And on top of that, everyone's walking around in rubber soled shoes. So
Double whammy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us about the materials and connectivity? Like what materials would be conducive to transferring that electricity versus not?
Everyone would be either needing to be barefoot or in natural fibers. So we talk about things like cotton that actually have their own hertz frequency, and then linen, which is like these things are actually talked about in the Bible where they have certain spin and hertz frequency that are conductive to our body. And no one's wearing these fibers anymore. We're all wearing synthetics, and I mean, we're guilty of it too. I mean, we live in workout clothes where, you know,
It's
product is
easy. It looks cool. You know,
It's
that's what it's all about.
comfortable.
Hey,
Yeah.
It doesn't stain, it doesn't smell.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool and comfortable sometimes, right?
Sometimes. So, you know,
Yeah.
we know the detriment of not wearing natural fibers, but at the same time, it's like out of convenience for the modern lifestyle. It's just like we wanted to provide a tool that helps someone improve their well-being wherever they're at. So not even just like a chronic illness or someone optimizing their wellness. This is a daily compounding wellness tool that anyone can use and meet themselves wherever they're at in their day. And you don't have to know how to do anything special. You don't have to know how to meditate or do breath work. You don't have to do yoga. You don't need to sleep on it.
Yeah.
So it kind of just meets people where they're at, where it's like, I'm not expecting as a practitioner someone to check out from their day-to-day life. So that's where it's like, you know, we know the costs and the benefits of being out in nature, but is it really a viable solution for us at the point that all of us are at in society?
Yeah, you make such
Yeah.
a great point. I have clients too, Canada, Minnesota, and like getting them to get sunlight in the morning, or as you said, like put their feet on the earth. It's just, it's not possible. So, and that's why we love biohacking. And biohacking doesn't mean technology. It means opting into these practices to harness the power of nature. So we can use the red light if we really need it. We can use the PEMF when we really need it. And I love that you said like it's passive.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You don't need a skill.
Yeah.
We lay and accept and harmonize. That's so
That's
awesome.
it. It's easy. It's so
And you
easy.
could stack. I mean, when I lay on it, I do like the brain tap or breath work or sleep. But I guess take a nice nap. But I guess you could like, I mean, I wouldn't recommend someone like plays on their phone while they're doing it, but like you could like read a book or I don't know,
Yeah.
right? You could stack it with other things.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, brain tap is a very powerful stack with the mat. It's very, I mean, like your body drops into a parasympathetic state because of the PEMF, and then your brain can actually relax and uptake all that information that's coming in with lights and sounds and everything and relax you even more. But also brain tap is brain entrainment too. So if you're relaxed, your body's more susceptible to hold on to that. So very powerful stacked together. And I mean, like that with red light,
that's what's so cool. Talk about playing nice in the sandbox with other modalities so we're low intensity PEMF. It's not going to fry any other devices. And you mentioned like, oh, I might not be on my iPhone. Well, it's like, well, we're not proponents of people being workaholics, but at least if you're on the mat and you are on your devices, we're guilty of working while we're on our mats as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It works.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be doing the work, you might as well be on the mat while you're doing it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Being exposed to the blue light from our screens and, the EMFs from it. I mean, it kind of mitigates it and it, gives your body the energy to do better.
Yeah. And again, meeting you where you're at. It's like, if that's going to be the best choice in that moment, why would you not do that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So easy.
Go ahead. We're going to fight for a question.
Yeah. I know. Well, I want to go through the different frequencies, but if you were going a different direction, I'll let you run with it.
Well, just kind of globally, I want to hear the big differences and how you approach creating this mat. Maybe we would start with something like the Gauss, because I know there's a lot of PEMF that just like super jack the Gauss. Can you explain what Gauss is and how you've integrated that into this technology?
Yes, so I'll give you a spectrum. So the Earth operates, but the Earth that we walk on is 0.5 Gauss, to give you an idea. An MRI machine is at about 10,000 to 30,000 Gauss. So this is a vast spectrum, but to give you an idea of what like low intensity PEMF, we're operating right around 3 Gauss. And if you've seen a high intensity PEMF device like a pulse, which they're an amazing technology, but when you're sitting on a pulse, you're actually feeling viscerally the technology in your body.
And those will fry your phone.
Yeah.
Will fry your Oura rings, anything, like any electricity or electronics that you put on that, it will be fried.
I experienced that. Mine went white. I was like, whoa.
Oh my gosh. This is not good.
Yeah. So the practitioner should have told you that. So that's first and foremost that like any PEMF and giving your body the cells like more energy that it needs to heal itself, we're a huge proponent of. But the Align mat, and why we even called it Align, is the fact that we want to help you shift your nervous system back into homeostasis, this parasympathetic nervous system state known as rest and digest, that helps the body essentially go into this healing and regeneration mode on its own. So we want to align with the fact that your body knows how to heal itself every moment of every day. We don't want to make you force the cells to create that change. So really what our device is helping the nervous system shift instead of forcing that cellular tissue regeneration response, if that makes sense. So that's where that lower Gauss comes in. And that's why it feels so soothing and comforting to the body, is it's just allowing you to gracefully create that shift and take off the invisible armor that we wear all day long out in the world.
Yeah. So what's the Gauss for like the pulse unit?
They're about 7,000.
7,000, yeah. 7,000.
Joe, Patrick, you can correct us if that's incorrect. I think they're right about that.
Okay. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot. Yep.
Yeah. And I actually use that to help heal a fracture in my back. And it was great. It worked great for that. But like, I wouldn't use that on a daily basis.
And these, I mean, again, that's considered like what they would consider a PEMF system. And for acute trauma, I think it's phenomenal to help the body's energetic reserves, bring more nutrients, oxygenation, circulation to that area to help heal something like a fracture. So wound healing, bone knitting, all of that.
There's a time and a place for all these modalities, the high intensity, the low intensity. So, I mean, like, it's all about what your body needs at that time. So I think we also asked, like, what's different? What makes ours different? We prided ourselves because, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, like, I'm a tinkerer. I like to make things faster, better, stronger, more efficient. So we took apart, like, every mat on the market that we could. For over 2.5 years of research and development, looking at other mats, seeing what we liked, seeing what we didn't like, seeing how we could make it better. And what we came up with is that, the stones, we wanted to make sure that the stones were authentic. So we have relationships with mines all over the world where we actually supply our stones from, get our stones from these quarries. And it's actually an upcycled product. So if you look about like the big cathedrals that they make and they have to like uh, cut it down or they have to shave it or something, it's the byproduct of those shavings. We take those and then we tumble them, and that's what's actually in the stone. So there's two things there.
And it's so beautiful. The mat is beautiful. And you get the benefit of that when the mat's not even on, correct?
Oh, exactly. Yes, because stones have their own vibration. Our Zen product, we have two. So we have a Zen Plus, and the Zen Plus product has 7 different chakra aligning stones or energy center aligning stones. And then with the Stealth Plus, we have all authentic black tourmaline, and that has its own vibration and own properties as well. So that was one of the things that we saw in research and development. When we were doing testing, it was funny. We actually got samples from some of the manufacturers or companies that we were thinking about working with, and they send us like aquarium rocks. It was crazy.
Painted glass.
Yeah, painted glass, painted rocks. And like if you put them in boiling water, they would actually like turn white because it was just paint. And you're like, no way that we're, yeah. So that was like one of the craziest things that
So we have to do batch testing of all of our stones to make sure, like, and like GIA certification, which, like, if anyone knows gemology, like, so we make sure that we have genuine stones. So that was something that was super important, especially like as we walk this process and realizing, like, again, stones hold a vibration, right?
Yep.
Stones create negative ions. Think about walking barefoot on a beach. And that's what we like in the mat too. A lot of times is like how your body feels in that moment when, in studies, it increases serotonin levels. It reduces free radical damage in the body. So think about systemic inflammation. Not everyone has access to just being able to walk on a beach. So it's like bringing that into your home. And what really sets us apart is this synergistic stacking of that with the infrared heat as well. So that tactile experience of feeling soothed and warmth.
So the far infrared heat actually is another component we looked at too. And a lot of products out there utilize copper, and copper actually sends off EMFs, and EMFs are really good for the body. So we want to make sure that you're getting the right frequencies. So we actually have a carbon fiber heating element instead of copper.
The copper wire. Yeah.
And carbon fiber heats up evenly and disperses the heat evenly through the mat, and you don't get that the EMFs from that. So that was like one of the biggest, other biggest thing that we had in the mat. And then of course,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it was important. So, and of course, like the rock star on the mat is the PEMF. So that was like one of the things that we were really studying and how we were going to actually make that. We actually have PEMF signal generators within our controllers that actually give you a genuine PEMF signal instead of other
it's just a carrier, instead of having it just be a carrier wave from the electricity from the wall, which is in America here, it's 60 hertz coming out of the wall. That's what we classify as dirty electricity.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's 50 hertz. So without a signal generator, you're literally just like other devices open and close a gate that's just giving you that 60 hertz from the wall.
Right. So you're just for the dirty electricity.
Yeah.
So, to be able to that down to like, to where it needs to be is very important, where the frequency actually needs to be. And, the frequency is also tuned to the Schumann resonance.
That's
really like the rock star.
Is the harmonics of the Schumann resonance, those frequencies that you get that the body is most comfortable and familiar with when we are walking barefoot on the Earth's surface.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about the different frequencies? Because like on the device, like I don't pay too much attention to the different ones. I just am like sleep or relaxation, de-stress, recovery. I just pick it based off of that. But tell us about the different frequencies.
So there's 2 different frequency functions. So when someone purchases a mat, we give them a quote unquote secret frequency list that has all of the PubMed published research for different frequencies. So 1 to 50 hertz, you can choose, say 15 hertz for Raynaud's phenomena as a studied frequency to help with this neurological condition. There's something for migraines. There's something for menstrual cramps. And this isn't coming from our research. This is actually published PubMed research on PEMF frequency. So that's what the manual settings are for if someone wants to like really dive in deep and work on something specifically. But then again, we really, like you're saying, you stay within those 8 Schumann resonance programs because you realize that the body uptakes these the most effectively, and these work almost instantaneously, where we see people shifting out of stress within like 60 seconds. But it meets the body where it's at. So you look at like brain waves for delta, when you're like, I'm going to use the delta brainwave setting for sleep right before bed, and you can easily set it to that. So we have 8 different frequencies for that in the map, everything from, that walking barefoot on the beach, 7.83 hertz, all the way up to like a gamma frequency of 39.6 hertz, which is really at the base of like an athletic recovery range. So if you have sore muscles, it can meet your body there. So that's the difference between, like we were talking about Gauss earlier. This is the hertz. This is the electronic frequency portion of it. So pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. So the hertz, or what's the pulse rate? So 39.6, when I say that in hertz, is like the pulses per second. The higher the pulse rate, the more energizing it is to the body.
Right. And there's a certain one I think I've heard you say you don't want to do after sunset. Is there like a certain range where it's
Yeah, so like the higher the frequency, the more energy that you're going to have. So it could keep you up. I mean, like people also liken it to like a cup of coffee without the jitters, which is pretty cool. So anywhere below, I wouldn't even go up to like 9.6, but like 7.8 and 1.2. And also, I mean, I don't think we mentioned it, but you can take the mat from 1 to 50 hertz too, individually. So just staying right in that range, right below like 7, is probably going to be your sweet spot for sleep. And then anything other than that, it's for, concentration or helping you heal and recover and, you know.
And the reason we say that is because, okay, if we were back in the olden days, before we built these beautiful boxes that we all live in now on concrete foundations, if we were in contact with the earth oscillates predominantly between that 7 to 10 hertz, with the sweet spot being 7.83, which we talk about being like brain and heart coherence. It's really at like the upper end of theta, at the lower end of the alpha brainwave range, which is really great for, concentration and focus. But it's not where most of us are living now. We're predominantly living in this constant like cortisol bump, this elevated state, where when we even demo the mat, we usually have people up in that 39.9 hertz, that athletic recovery range of 40 to 50 hertz, because we want to meet someone's nervous system, meet them where they're at, and then walk them back down.
Usually you're walking or conference center or something like that.
So overstimulated.
So we got to where they're at, and then we bring them down. A lot of the times they snore on the mat, they just passed out. And other times,
that doesn't happen.
We are witnesses to this.
Exactly. In the middle of the call with 5,000 people, and they pass out and they don't even know they fell asleep, which is the most beautiful thing for us to witness, is to see someone that typically cannot relax, that just falls asleep, because the body takes what it needs. And most often we're so sleep deprived. So it just wants to feel.
What would it feel like to someone if they're operating at a high frequency, if you went right away to the lower? Would it just be uncomfortable?
It could be uncomfortable. Yeah, it might feel uncomfortable to them because it's a different frequency, a completely different vibration than where they're at right now.
So just like out of body experience, or they're like, I want to get off this thing.
So you're an N of 1, right? So what it's going to do for you is completely different than it is for Mike, as myself. So some people like, I don't feel it, which is like not the majority, because we're so good at dialing it in and realizing that most people are coming to us from a very elevated, overstimulated state, that we just want to meet them where they're at and give them the best experience. So yeah, it can feel uncomfortable for some, where they're like, oh, I was definitely going through something on the mat, especially if they're more sensitive and that discrepancy is there. Or some are like, I don't know what I'm feeling. And then you turn around, you turn back around, and they're sleeping. Like, I didn't feel anything. I'm like, well, you were snoring.
Your body likes it. Yeah. My first experience was at the Hack Your Health conference. And I think you did put me on something higher, because the night before, I'm telling you, it was one of the worst nights of sleep I have ever had. Lauren We were sharing a bed. She knows. And people are like, oh, I barely slept. And then their Aura Ring says otherwise. No, my Aura Ring says I slept 2 hours. I was in bed for 8 hours. It was like first night effect. We were emceeing the next morning. The fan was ticking. It was hot. Like you name it, my sleep was crap.
Oh,
Then we had to
I felt so
MC.
bad.
Oh God, we had to MC the whole next day, and then we had to go out that night. So that's when I came. I was like, okay, perfect time to try the Align mat. And whatever you put me on, it didn't feel like I was sleeping, but I was like out. I was
yeah.
like in another dimension or something, but I got off and I was like ready to go for the whole night. I was like, okay. I texted Alyssa the next day. I was like, I need, when can I get one shipped to my house?
Recharge.
Oh,
She put
yeah.
that battery into the outlet. Ready to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
We,
So
we
maybe that was
made
a
a
higher one,
quantum
but
travel machine. That's all it was. We just went into a different dimension. And, that's like when some people come off of the mat, it's like, you coming in for a landing? We need to bring you back. And they're like, yeah, where was I?
yeah. And actually, I was just hypnotized for the first time ever a couple weeks ago.
Well,
And that actually felt very similar to my experience on the Align mat.
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that. We're like, you're not asleep, but you're not there. You don't really know where you are.
That's funny. I mean, we
Yeah.
leverage the technology. A lot of different practitioners leverage it in their practice. Mike will not work with a client unless someone is on the mat, unless he's working remotely with them, and then he's on the mat working on them.
Yeah.
So there is definitely something to be said about, again, the way that the frequencies work, the way that the crystalline energy is in the mat as well, without getting too woo-woo. But yeah, I mean, I love that you are in charge of your own frequency destiny when you're on the mat and you're meditating or resting or whatever, wherever you're going, you're in charge of that. So aside from it, there's no guru, right? There's no one externally that you're seeking. You're just in charge of like your own wellness state and shifting your perspective out of that fight flight into rest and digest, which I think is so important for people to get back into that state, because it offers them more mental clarity, bandwidth, like to make
Resilience.
decisions, go back into their life with this calm, clear presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
1000%.
Are you open to sharing any client experiences of people that have been dealing with chronic illness, fatigue, pain, any like really awesome wins?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we're getting them on the
Yeah.
daily, but there's some that definitely stick out. And I think there was one that's Dolores. Yeah, you want to tell Dolores' story?
We
That
did
was
a
pretty
show
incredible.
last October. It was our first time ever even hearing of this show, and another technology company invited us. It's basically the Olympics for senior athletes. So no participant is under the age of 50. We had everything from a 65-year-old hurdler on the mat to a 97-year-old man that was a power walker. Like this, it was absolutely incredible and inspiring for us to do the show. One of the athletes' wives actually came to us and she's like, is it safe for me to get on the mat? I probably have more metal in my body than anyone you know. She had metal in her neck, metal in her feet. She hadn't slept through the night in 4 or 5 years since her last accident, hiking. She had like literally torn a chunk of her heel off, which is insane, and got carried off a mountain. She sleeps with sleeping medication. And I'm like, yeah, it's totally safe for you to get on the mat. It'll probably just feel super relaxing. If anything, at the higher frequencies, you can feel like the energetic tingling or pulsing sensations, but usually it feels like kind of like intriguing for people. It's not uncomfortable, but they're just like, oh, I feel something.
Vibing a little.
Say anything that day. She gets off the mat, comes back the next day. She's like, can I do it again? And we're like, yeah, sure, no problem. It's like we're in this convention hall for like 2 weeks. It's the longest show we've ever did because, again, like all of the athletes and participants that have to go to finals and all that. This woman comes back 4 days in a row and she's like, I don't know what this thing is. And we have this on video because it's just like mind blowing. She has tears in her eyes. She's like, I don't know what this thing is. And I don't know what it's doing for me, but I haven't slept through the night in 4 years. And the last 4 nights have been the best sleep that I've ever gotten. I didn't sleep with my sleeping medication. I didn't wake up once. So these things for us is like,
Yeah. Chill. It's like,
this is why we do this.
It's so amazing
Yeah.
to hear those stories like
Yeah.
that, especially like Dolores's, because she was like in so much pain and couldn't sleep. And when we don't sleep, our body's not recovering. So for us to be able to give her that, just by laying on the mat, but the one thing we want to drive the point home on is that your body is healing itself. The Align Mat is just a tool. All these modalities are just tools. We have the innate wisdom in our body to heal ourselves. So I was like, great job.
Helps build her belief.
Yeah. So it's building her beliefs so she can take that. Obviously, she has an Align Mat, but she uses it every single day. Yeah. She had to take.
Yeah.
But that
How
was
could you not? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
any others that come to mind?
Well, we actually had a veteran that visualized or verbalized trauma on the mat, like in real time. I think I was doing another a demo somewhere, and this guy he was pulled along by his wife to the show, and he's like, "Dude, I don't even know what I'm doing here." And like I was raised by Navy SEALs, so I was talking to Sock, and I was kind of like broing out with him. And I was like, man, just get on the mat. Don't worry about it. Just lay down. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything. And mind you, this guy's like straight military, doesn't know anything about spirituality or the quantum or anything like that. Gets on the mat. I cover him with a blanket, make him feel safe, because I know a lot of the times when veterans and people with PTS that get on the mat, sometimes it feels uncomfortable when they're releasing those traumas. So when you feel held, it's a lot easier. And that's with the stealth mat. It almost feels like an inverse weighted blanket. So I was like, that's the one he needs to get on. But we were just talking the whole time. Like I was just talking to him, and then he started going back into stories about when he was on the war field, and he was talking about his friends that he lost, and he was talking about all these things that were happening, and he started tearing up, like just in the middle. He's like, man, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. And I was like, brother, it's because you, for the first time maybe, had the ability to get out of your own way and relax and take care of yourself. And that was just so powerful to like see that. And it was like amazing, because he's like, he got up, and it like makes me emotional, because like he got up and he was like, I haven't felt this good in years.
Oh my God.
In years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was
pretty
wow.
This was Hack Your Health. This was in the middle of that.
Hack Your Health?
Yes.
Yeah, I was at the Hack Your Health.
He was seeing colors. Like this is like someone that he was like,
oh yeah, he was seeing chakra colors too. Again, militant, don't know anything about spirituality. And he's like, dude, he's like, I'm seeing blue. He's like, is this normal? It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, maybe he's a little dehydrated. He's like, hey, brother, now I'm seeing green. So he was actually going through his energy centers and actually healing himself as he was talking, as he was processing the trauma.
Issues in the tissues. And he was just like,
it was just so beautiful.
The fascia and whatever was stuck. And Mike was a safe space, just kind of like he felt safe to share it with him in a non-judgmental space, and like to see and witness this happen in a convention center with thousands of people. And like healing can happen anywhere.
It can.
So just creating the right set and settings for someone to let go of whatever they're holding on to that doesn't serve them anymore. And like that's what we hope to be able to be facilitators of that, whether we're working one-on-one with clients or with the alignment.
Yeah. And another really cool one that we just did, we actually did clinical testing with at BrainTap's headquarters last week.
Yeah. So cool.
And we did before and after testing and all the clinical testing, blood microscopy, but a couple that stand out was the biological age. When they got off the mat, they were 10 to 20 years younger biologically. It was amazing.
So look for us to start. We're going to be posting this.
So we're going to post that. That's like a little preview.
That's why you're 16, Renee, because you lay on your alignment.
Probably helps.
That's it.
And if you I entered the Longevity World Cup. And if you saw that on there, I'm in third place right now, but I don't know how many people there are in it. So I'm sure I will get kicked off at some point. But someone was like, oh, well, what do you do? And I'm like, oh gosh, I do a lot of things, but I do the Align Mat. I do the Align Mat every day. And so actually I do 45 to 60 minutes midday, pretty much every day. Maybe on like a Sunday, I'll miss it or something. But in the last month, I added to my routine, I do 15 minutes before bed. And I
Nice.
knew that I should do that. I've known like I should schedule it, but like usually by the time it's bedtime, I just get into bed. I'm like, I'm tired. I don't do that. But I've been scheduling 15 minutes on the mat. And let me tell you, I'm like peeling myself off the mat to get into bed.
Yeah.
I'm
That's why
like,
the massage table's at the end of our
Yeah,
bed, so we can
that's
just
where we keep
oh
it.
my gosh. I'm like, how much closer
Yeah.
can I put my bed to the mat? Because I'm just like out
You
in
can
15
sleep on it if
minutes.
you want.
Yeah. You don't have to though.
Yeah,
I'm too much of a princess to sleep
Yeah.
on it, to be honest.
me
Like
too.
the
I'm a
rock, the
princess.
crystals, yeah.
Yeah, I need a
What
couple.
when I had the flu,
Yeah.
I had it on one side of the bed and I would lay on it and then I would just
Just
Yeah.
roll over.
keep me off. But then I would like kind of have my head on it. I was like, I'm still close to it.
Yeah. And it's awesome because it still works that way though, too. You don't have to have your full body on it.
It's a pulse.
I mean, like I
It's a
could,
field.
yeah, I could put
Oh,
my
right.
hand
Yeah.
on it, or you could be next to it, and you're still getting the benefits of the
Yeah.
PEMF if it's on. You
Yeah.
know?
And that's cool. Think about, again, we'll go back to walking barefoot on the earth's surface. You don't have to have your entire body in contact with the ground to be getting those frequencies. Your body's absorbing the electrons and it's sending it wherever it needs to go in your body. So same thing with the mat, you touch it with your finger and it's like, oh, and it's going to go all the way to your toes. So
Right. That's a really good point. I didn't think about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to do like a recap of like health benefits to kind of like put this into a list. So
Yeah.
nervous system, downregulation, circulation, pain, anti-inflammatory, immune function. Like what else can we like put this into a bucket of
well,
things?
immune function improves based upon it's the nervous system regulation. So our immune system is compromised when our cortisol spikes. So it's helping regulate
Okay.
the hormones essentially because it's putting you into that parasympathetic rest and digest mode. So it's by default. And then the frequencies that are actually helping, a cell that is toxic, helping you uptake nutrition more effectively, detoxifying waste. It's helping you excrete that waste more effectively as well. So I just likening it to, I think it makes it helpful for the listeners because it's just like when you talk about it being a human charging pad, when you have more energy for your body to operate, it upregulates all things. Everything works better.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and then when you're sleeping too. So that's what I would say is like the number one. We talk about like humans, especially in America, more is better, no pain, no gain. It's like we forget about recovery. And it's like we perform better when we recover more effectively. So helping people sleep deeper, better quality, helping you repair yourself, then you can go back out and do it more effectively. So.
And
So
that's
well
always a
said.
priority for us with our clients. And really, honestly, the number one challenge we see with clients, no matter what they present with, when you dig, it's like, oh, we're not getting optimal sleep. And I walk through clients through cellular detox. I wish I could send one of these to every single person because of the cellular support. But if we're also doing detox effectively, this would just be exponential.
When we see, so the best pairing, hydration, so clean spring water if they have it available, or well hydrated, like well cleansed, purified water, and minerals. Whether it's something like a Beam Minerals, which is a fantastic full spectrum mineral product, or even like just getting a Redmond's or a Celtic sea salt, like a quality sea salt, because the body needs a proper balance of hydration and minerals to be conductive. So,
and any other recommendations? So if the cells are able to release the toxins, and that can kind of bind onto minerals on the way out, do you recommend hydrating before and after? Do you see people getting more dehydrated if spending a lot of time on it?
Especially with the infrared too.
The infrared will definitely push like a slight detox for sure. So we definitely tell people to hydrate, need electrolytes, you need your, good Redmond salt or something like that.
Before, during, after, especially if you're doing longer sessions, like Renee was talking about, spending an hour plus on the mat is totally appropriate because you can't overpulse yourself. Even if you're resetting the frequencies after the 20-minute duration and going again, you're not going to overpulse yourself because of the low Gauss. And so it's still going to be providing these lovely healing frequencies that feel delicious to the body. But you are going to need to continue hydrating and adding your minerals in. So bare basic, how we tell people to leverage the mat is like energizing 20 minutes in the morning and then 20 minutes before bed. That's literally like, meeting your body where it's at based on the time that you have available, 5 to 20-minute sessions in the morning. Bare basic. It can meet you wherever it's at. You get off a stressful phone call, take 60 seconds to reset your nervous system on the mat. then go back to
Yeah.
We haven't done that before.
it. Phone calls.
No, you're
No.
on the mat. So if we're getting stressed,
Honey, where'd you go? Where do you think I went? Come on.
right.
Are there any contraindications, any disease processes that we would want to avoid with the PEMF?
Thank you for asking.
Yes.
So we have to, because no one's ever been studied to be pregnant on the mat. Although we've had pregnant women that have purchased our mat, we cannot stop them from purchasing and using the product. Although we say don't use the frequencies. It's just contraindicated because it's never been studied, because someone's pregnant for 9 months and no one will spend millions of dollars to test a short-term condition, non-chronic condition. Epilepsy, seizures, there's always a caution with using any sort of pulsed electromagnetic frequency, even at a low Gauss. And then anyone that has an electronic implant, so pacemaker, electronic nerve stimulator, something like that.
Okay. What about if it's just off, standing on the crystals?
Yeah, totally fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Off or even just the heat, those two.
Okay.
We have stories about that too. I mean, like there was this lady that had mast cell activation, and she laid on the mat and she couldn't even plug it in because it was too intense. So we told her to just lay on it, just have it in your room and just lay on it. And she was pushing a detox, and she's like, I can feel it. It's crazy. I can feel it. And like within like a week, because she had a whole bunch of other health issues, but she actually coughed up a part of a latex glove that they left in her sinus from one of the surgeries.
She had mold toxicity, Lyme, and a medical malpractice. Yeah. It was the most.
She was detoxing, quite literally detoxing, because of the alignment not even being plugged in.
Yeah.
Wow.
It can meet you, when I say it can meet you where it's at. Serious. Like, don't even plug it in and just lay on it and get the benefits from the minerals that are in the crystals themselves transdermally, and then work your way up. So you can stair step it. It can meet someone wherever they're at, from chronic illness to elite athlete.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And for pets, my little Max. You guys have met Max and learned how he can be sometimes, but he got really sick in January, and for 2 weeks after, he was on the Align mat every day, not plugged in. And like, he usually just sleeps like on the couch or the floor or whatever, but I'm not kidding you. I sent you a picture, I think, Alyssa. Every day for 2 weeks after being sick, he was just, I found him on there. And then now when I turn it on, he always comes and lays with me, but just being off, he was just sleeping all day on it.
That's amazing. Yeah. Animals and children know. They gravitate towards the mat. They don't even know what it is. I mean, at the last show, there was this baby that made a beeline to the stealth mat and was just looking at it and looking at all the mats. And the mom's like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? So it's crazy. But I mean, dogs, cats, all different types of animals love this.
Kids and pets are our best barometer because they don't lie. So they know what feels good to them. It's like, we love capturing, like we have animals of a line, like where they're literally pushing their owners out of the way to get that.
I saw you had one the other day. There was like 4 cats on a mat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I don't know who that was.
Yeah.
Which
that was one of our affiliates, and she's amazing. I didn't realize she had that many cats, but I was like, you have a zoo on your mat. And she's like, I always get pushed off to the side and I don't have any room. I was like, you might have too many cats, but
there's no such thing.
Okay, so there's no such thing. But
don't tell Ryan that.
Yeah.
Oh, your Instagram story was hilarious. Or Ryan's today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, your schedule. I saw it.
Cats all day. I have a small request. You talked about all the benefits and how Align is different, but I know like inevitably people always learn about these technologies, but inevitably there's going to be a small population that's still going to go and get like a cheaper option. Can you just kind of do a quick recap about why the cheaper options really are not going to be worth it?
Well, we always welcome a side-by-side comparison. Absolutely. Because when you feel the Align mat compared to any of these other technologies that you might buy on Amazon, let's just say, you definitively feel the difference, or don't feel anything from the other mats. And it really takes that side-by-side comparison to understand that. the dirty electricity is a huge thing. Like I'm very sensitive chemically, energetically, and otherwise, just from my mold exposures and other things with my physical imbalances that led me to this work. So that was a non-negotiable for me. Like I can barely sit with a seat heater on in a car anymore because it gives me an anxiety, like my skin's crawling because it's not grounded and it's dirty electricity. So that's first and foremost something that I would say in every other mat that we tested is producing dirty electricity for these copper heating wires. So that's not something that you're trying to do when you're trying to regulate the nervous system. That's actually like the opposite. And then Mike went into detail about our journey in finding genuine stones and creating relationships, which is so important to us that we work directly with these minds and have built these relationships that we, trust to be getting genuine stones. I would say the majority of what's out there on the market probably doesn't have real stones. I haven't tested theirs. I've tested ours, so I can speak confidently on that. And then again, the Schumann resonance frequencies. We want to be sure that we're giving the body what it needs and desires to put it in a healing state.
Right.
And these other mats, they don't even offer you, a lot of them, the option to change your frequency. It's like 25%, 50%. And you're like, what does that mean? And we want someone to be in charge of their frequency destiny. So as practitioners, like our whole goal is to empower you with tools to make the best decision regarding your own health. So I would say those are the biggest differences that we have, is really like the flexibility of the mat to meet you where you're at and the quality and intentionality that we put into creating it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have thought of everything. Thank you for taking 2.5 years to put this together or whatever. Like, it's an amazing product. And I really believe it is affordable. Actually, when I first was selling this to Ryan, it's so funny. Whenever I want a new biohacking device, I like to share it with Ryan first, make sure it's a mutual decision. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling him all about the Align mat and this is how I felt and this is what it does. And he's like, what is it, like 10K? And I'm like, oh, well, now you're going to be really happy. He was shocked. He was like, oh, I thought it would have been like so much more. So it really is affordable.
Thank you. And that's really important for us as practitioners, and having come to this space from our own pain to purpose story. It's like, how do we reach more people? Like that has been our main mission. And like we realized in our one-to-one clinical practice, and like that's amazingly transformational for that one person. But when you walk with someone for 12 to 18 months, like how do we have a greater impact on this planet? And how do we remove ourselves from that equation as being someone's like coach, guide, guru, where it's like, I want to empower you with a tool. So that you have innate wisdom in every single cell in your body that knows how to heal itself. Like that's really our mission.
Absolutely.
Really amazing.
Thank you.
One more question.
Okay.
Did you have one more question, Renee? 10 more questions, actually.
I know. We're just going to keep you here all night.
Let's go.
We'd love to ask for one final piece of advice if you want to do something collectively, or we'll each give you time. Something our audience can start doing today to optimize their health, their vitality, their time on this earth.
Oh, man. You just get outside. Go outside, take your shirt off, or whatever you have to do to get sun on your skin, in your eyes, in your face, on your back. What we do is that we have infrared sauna that we hop into for 20 minutes, get a good sweat on, wait a couple minutes, and then we dunk into the pool. And the pool is usually at 50 degrees. And when I tell you it's a game changer, like throughout the day, you have more energy, you have more clarity, less brain fog. It's incredible. And those things are free. Those are things you do. Even if you don't have an infrared sauna, just lay out in the sun. Those are the best light spectrums that you could possibly get ever.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So,
we are huge proponents of substantiating that. Like
we're animals. We need to be outside.
Yeah. Things that are readily available, free. Yes, what nature has provided. Nature did not make a mistake. And those things, I'm from Florida. I've never liked being cold in my life. And it's been the one thing that I've resisted the most and has been the biggest game changer in like my daily performance, energy, mental clarity. Yeah. And adaptability, I guess, like resilience is getting cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the things I feel like, today's society isn't resilient enough. It's not that we can't go into the cold plunge and we can't take the cold. No, it's because it's different. It's a change. It's an extreme change. And if we can get our bodies and our minds around it, that we can get into this change, and it's not going to hurt us. It's actually going to benefit us. I think the more resilient that we are as human beings, the more efficient that we're going to be. We're going to be
able to survive,
evolve.
more.
Exactly. Because when you break it down, everything comes down to survival. You know, if you're hungry, right? If you're sad, mad, angry, whatever that is, that's survival because your body knows exactly what it needs to do.
Yeah.
So,
pretty simple.
Amen
really,
to that.
think of it that way. Yeah, resilience. I think that's been my word of the year for like 4 years now. I haven't changed.
it's a good word.
It's no better word. That's
it. So, Mike and Alyssa, where can people learn more about the mat and follow you guys? So
you can go on our Instagram. It's My Align Mat, just like mypillow.com. It's My Align Mat. I'm not promoting them. It's easy. And then it's myalignmat.com. And you can check us all out. We have a lot of science. We have a lot of information on our website too. And we also, welcome people to call in. And if you can, they can talk to us or they'll talk to one of our reps.
That's something we really pride ourselves on as our customer service. So you asked, I think
amazing.
Apart from a lot of the other companies out there, you're going to talk to a human oftentimes because we're working at the front lines here. We're going to be one of the ones answering the calls or calling someone back on a question. So
because there's nothing more than annoying than hearing a robotic voice saying that we're going to help you out. And it's my pleasure to help you.
AI has its place.
It does.
We still want the human connection.
We want the human connection for sure. That's what we're all about.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. That's awesome. I didn't even know about that. So you guys really have gone above and beyond. Well, thank you for spending your time with us today. I can't wait for this episode to come out. This has just been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you ladies.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. A lot of fun. Thank you.
So much fun. You are magical and wonderful. Thank you. And I know our audience already appreciated this. So thank you to everyone who tuned in. We'll see you next time.